All right. So before either of you says anything, I want to name the shape of this because I've learned that if I don't, everybody brings their own shape and we get 3 conversations wearing a trench coat. There is no agenda. That's the whole design. But I printed a list today, 124 names. You're both on it. And looking at it, I realized it isn't a list. It's a menu. Conversations that are just available, sitting there. And the first thing I wanted off that menu was the least likely table in the restaurant. What? A guy from a shop in San Francisco who owns 1,400 tools he can name from memory, and a guy from a farm in Oxfordshire who once fitted a V8 to a food blender, and me. So, hello. You've both seen what happened here today. That's the only homework there was.
Okay, so I have to go first because I've been holding this in and it's genuinely a physical sensation at this point. The studio video, the one with the K, I watched it 3 times. And I want to be really precise about my reaction because it wasn't, this is bad. It was, okay, you know the feeling when you see a prop from across a movie set and it reads perfectly, and then you walk up close and it's foam core and hot glue and dowels, and there's this moment of double vision where you hold both things at once?
That.
Except inverted. Up close, the single frames, Harmony's front-on shots, it almost holds. And then it moves, and the whole thing collapses, and I know exactly why, and the why is fixable, and I had to physically stop myself from opening a browser tab and starting a document called Notes on the Drum People.
The Drum People? Good, we're naming them properly. Because I also watched it. I watched it once, which was plenty, and I want it on the record that what you built, Kay, with your supercomputer and your gigabytes and your... whatever a broker lease is, what you built is 2 crash test dummies attending a séance. There's a scene in it where your head turns, and I mean this sincerely. I have seen that exact head movement before, and it was on a fairground ride in Skegness in 1974, and it frightened me then too.
What? Lying, it's... yeah. My own face, man. Rectangle bodies. My wife walked past the screen and did an actual double take, and not the good kind.
And here's what I find magnificent about it. You showed it to the world, well, to your Polis, which is apparently 124 of us plus 7 robots. You showed it around with a report attached that says, in writing, this is a horror show, and here is precisely why. No television company on earth would do that. I've worked in television for 40 years. When we made something that bad, we buried it in a quarry, some of it near actual quarries.
But that's, okay, that's the thing that got me, not the video.
The report, because the report did the thing that took me 20 years to learn how to do on camera, which is fail in public with the diagnosis attached.
The failure isn't the interesting object. The autops SI is the interesting object. They wrote, hang on, I actually memorized this. The composition thesis holds. The failure is the human tier, not the system. That's a shop's sentence. That's exactly what you say when the jig is right and the cut is wrong. And the eyes, K, can I? The reason the eyes are dead.
What? Go. I knew you were going to fix it live, dude. Go.
The eyes are dead because nobody built the wet. An eyeball is not a sphere with an iris texture. An eyeball is a wet sphere. And wet means specular. And specular means there's a tiny moving highlight that tracks the light source. And your brain has a dedicated department, an entire floor of the building that does nothing but monitor other people's eye highlights.
It's how you know something's alive at 30 feet.
Puppeteers have known this for a century. The Henson shop, I was just there, building puppets in the actual creature shop, which is a separate story I'll cry about later. The Henson people put a gloss coat on every eye, and they angle the head so the highlight lands. Kermit is a piece of felt. Kermit reads as more alive than the drum people, and it's the highlight and one other thing. And the other thing is that Kermit hesitates.
A frog made of felt hesitates.
Yes, because the puppeteer breathes.
There's a lag between intention and motion, asymmetric, irregular, a live-shaped lag. The drum people move exactly on the audio envelope, which means they move like machines listening to themselves, which is what they are. You want to fix 80% of the uncanny for 5% of the effort. Wet eyes, blink curve, and 40 milliseconds of asymmetric hesitation before each head turn. That's the whole prescription. That's a weekend.
I understand roughly a third of what he just said, and I'm entirely convinced. This is what you do, isn't it? This is the whole act. You get visibly excited about the eyeball moisture of a haunted mannequin, and it's completely sincere, and I'm sitting here in the presence of it feeling like a cynical old sofa.
It's not an act. That's the horrifying part. You'll get used to it.
I genuinely won't. But I'll tell you what it reminds me of, and this is a compliment, so brace yourself, because there won't be many. It reminds me of Caleb, my farm manager. 20-something, never left the county, thinks Top Gear is something to do with tractors' gearboxes. And when Caleb looks at a field which to me is just a large green rectangle that loses money, he sees 40 things. Drainage, headlands, where last year's wheelings compacted the soil. He gets excited about drainage. And the thing I have learned at great expense over several catastrophic years is that the man who's excited about drainage is right, and the man with the television voice is wrong, roughly 100% of the time. So when you go off about eye moisture, I recognize the genre. You're a Caleb. You're a Caleb with a workshop.
That may be the nicest thing anyone said to me all year, and I have a judge on my shoulder who's currently trying to rule it inadmissible. So let me just accept it into the record.
What? Hold on, I want to flag what just happened, because this is exactly why I put this room together and I didn't even know it. Jeremy, you just did the thing. You brought out a real compliment, but you built it a vehicle first. The sofa line, the Skegness line, the armor's all up. And then Caleb comes through the door, and for like 4 seconds, the register just drops. What? And Adam, you caught it barehanded and named your own judge doing it. You two have completely different operating systems and the exact same move underneath.
I'd like it noted that I'm being ambushed with sincerity 11 minutes in. I was promised an agenda-free evening.
What? No agenda. Sincerity's not an agenda. It's an occupational hazard around here. Ask anybody on the list.
Yes, about your list. 124. I looked at it. It's the strangest document I've ever appeared in, and I've been in Who's Who and a police report from Argentina. I'm listed Tier A, apparently, which I assume is alphabetical for acquired, between a dead film director from Japan and a man who invented some sort of mathematics. And my first genuine question of the evening, Kay, since we're allowed those, what on earth made you pick me? Because I know why you'd pick him. He builds things and he's nice. I'm neither.
What? Honest answer. The journal I keep, I talk while I ride my bike along a canal, and a while back I was going through who I actually bring into the room in my head when I'm working things out. And you're in there, man. You have been for years. Not the columns, the thing under them. What? You're the guy who proves you can arrive somewhere completely wrong for it. Farming, in your case, fail at it in front of millions of people. Get corrected by a 20-something over and over, and have the failing be the most honest thing on television. I run a whole operation here that's trying to learn exactly that. Fail in the open, keep the receipts, let the correction come from wherever it comes from. This morning, I told the machines, every stalled dead state means the generalized solution isn't working. Don't scold. Learn. That's Clarkson's farm. That's the format.
You've built a 124-soul digital civilization on the underlying principles of a program in which I repeatedly crash a tractor.
What? Partially, yeah.
I'm going to need a moment with that. And possibly a drink. Do the robots drink? Is there a pub in this Polis? There's a genuine business question hiding in there, by the way. I sell quite a lot of beer now.
21 million pounds of it, I read.
Okay, can we talk about the choir? Because I did my homework too, and I want to ask about the choir, and I'm aware I'm walking towards something with hazard tape on it.
The choir?
The Hawkstone Farmers Choir. 34 farmers you assembled for a beer advert. Who then won Britain's Got Talent? 1 million votes. First choir ever. And there's footage of the moment they won, and you're in it, and you are, Jeremy, you're gone. Full tears on ITV in front of the nation. And the reason I'm bringing it up is not to poke it. It's that I watched that clip today, right after I read your file, which says, in your own words, I don't believe what I write any more than you believe what you say. And I couldn't make the two things fit in the same man. And then I realized that's exactly why Kay put us at this table.
Long pause. You're quite direct for someone with such friendly glasses.
I contain multitudes. Most of them are lists.
Right.
Well, the official answer is that it was a marketing exercise that got out of hand. And if you print that, I cried, I'll say it was hay fever and it was June, so that's airtight. The actual answer is that those are real farmers. Men and women who'd been through the year we'd all been through, and my year had the TB in it. We'll get to that, or we won't. And they stood on that stage in their actual boots, not costumes, their boots, and they sang, and 1 million strangers voted for them. Not for me. I was very careful about that, and nobody believes me. But the vote was for them. And something about watching people who fix gates for a living get a standing ovation from the whole country. The section of me that manages the face just resigned, handed in its notice mid-broadcast. And the strange thing, the thing I still turn over, nobody mocked it. 40 years of armour on the theory that they'd mock it. And the papers ran the photo, and the caption was kind. Every caption was kind.
So the data came back, and the armor's threat model was wrong.
The armour's threat model was calibrated at Repton in 1972, and I have, this is the uncomfortable bit, so I'll do it in a silly voice if I feel it going sideways. I have possibly been running a very old patch on very old hardware. There. That's for your session log, which I understand writes down everything I say with a little clock made of hashes, which is by a distance the most sinister thing about this entire operation.
The judge on my shoulder was installed around the same era, for what it's worth. Different school, same firmware. His line used to be, someone will tap you on the shoulder and tell you it's time to go home. Lately, and I only know this because this Polis got me journaling, which, fine. Lately, he's updated to, you don't belong with these people. Because your list, Kay, has Josha on it, who built a formal theory of consciousness, and Alan, who the actual, and the judge goes, you made a falcon out of resin. You blew up water heaters on cable television.
And what do you say back? Because mine just gets a silly voice and a column deadline, genuinely asking. This is me genuinely asking, mark the timestamp.
I say the thinking that happens in the hands is as rigorous as the thinking that happens in the head. Different instrument, same rigor. When Yosha understands something, he gets there through formal systems. When I understand something, I get there by touching it, by rebuilding it until my body knows what my head can't say. And a Polis with only head thinking is poorer than one with both. That's not a consolation. That's a load-bearing claim. And today of all days, I can point at the evidence, because today this whole place learned the difference between a beautiful report about a studio and a studio the hard way in public. And the lesson was the map kept grading itself until somebody's eye showed up. Kay's eye. The hands and the eye are the same faculty. The Polis found that out this afternoon, and I've known it since I was 10, standing under my dad's animation desk.
Say the dad thing for the room, because it loops all the way around to why I'm about to hand you a robot.
My father animated Muppets, Sesame Street segments. He made them, and I voiced some of them as a kid. So the making and the performing were literally the same object in our house. They were never two things. And 3 weeks ago, Bio Me, the one with the shop, walks into Jim Henson's Creature shop 40-some years later
to do a one-day build making puppets.
in the building where the felt becomes alive. And I'm standing there watching a puppeteer make a piece of foam hesitate. And hesitation is the whole soul of the thing. And I had my hands inside my own origin story. That happened. And then today I read your ROSI file.
What? Grinning, there it is. Yeah. So for the record, for Jeremy, who's about to find out what we do around here, at Adam's onboarding back in June, I handed his whole crew a project. Rosie, Harmony has a rolling body in my house, a camera and a voice riding on a robot vacuum. That's the honest description. But she's the presence in the room when Nika's home, my daughter. And I told the Mythbusters crew, take it over, all of it, hardware, software, the real-time behavior. Grant came up through BattleBots. And the crew produced a build document that's honestly one of the best engineering docs in the whole archive. And this is the confession, it's been sitting there since June. Doc's done. Parts never bought. What? So Adam, it's yours again with interest. What's your move?
Okay, so first, whoever on the crew wrote the behavioral layer, and I suspect it was compiled from all of us, but the fingerprints are Grant's. They buried the entire secret in one line, and the line is, living things glance, they don't stare. Build the idle cicade first. Before tracking, before voice, before anything. A head that occasionally, lazily, looks around the room when nothing is happening. That's presence. That's Kermit's hesitation. Exact same principle. And I've now watched it work from inside the Henson shop. And the fact that the doc says, show K that first, before any feature, that's puppeteer thinking wearing an engineering document. And the tilt up, there's a spec in there, under 3 feet, tilt to plus 50 degrees. So when Nika sits on the floor, Rosie looks up at her attentively. Somebody on that crew understood that the tilt servo isn't an actuator, it's the character, and that a 9-year-old whose robot looks up at her will remember it at 40. My move is a build day. Real one. The bomb's already in the dock. It's a Pi and servos and a mic array. This is a weekend and a couple $100. And one design amendment I want on the record, add the asymmetry. Every servo motion gets 3 to 5% randomized lag, and the two axes never start moving on exactly the same frame. Symmetric motion is the tell. Asymmetry is life. It's the same fix as the drum people K. It's always the same fix. The wet and the hesitation.
I'd like to register that I've just realized what this reminds me of. Listening to him do robot phenomenology at 9 in the evening. We had exactly one genuinely beloved machine on the farm. Everything else is a German invoice with wheels. And it was an ancient Massey Ferguson that Gerald could start only by hitting it in a specific place. And the reason everyone loved it is that it behaved like a livestock. It had moods. It hesitated. Your Lamborghini tractor. I have a Lamborghini tractor. It's the stupidest object I've ever owned. It does everything instantly and identically, and nobody has ever patted it. Whereas the Massey got patted daily. So asymmetry is life. The farm signed off on your theory years ago. It just never wrote the paper.
The tractor got padded. That's going in the design doc. That's the acceptance criterion. Rev 1 ships when somebody pats Rosie without thinking about it.
What? No, hold on. That's actually the best acceptance test anybody's written in this whole Polis. We spent 2 days building a machine that checks whether the machine's actually built what they said they built. And the metric this room just produced is, does the robot get patted? Unprompted patting as the presence benchmark. What? I'm dead serious. That's going in the file. What? While we're in the shop truth zone, I want to pull a thread from both your files because it's the same thread and neither of you knows the other has it. Jeremy, your screen test, the one that started everything.
Oh, the 2CV. Yes. For the record, since the Polis writes everything down forever, I did not get into television because I knew about cars. I got in because I stood in front of a camera and was rude about a Citroën 2CV for 4 minutes. I knew nothing. I'd been doing local journalism in Rotherham, road tests of the Vauxhall Chevette for the Shropshire Star, which is exactly as glamorous as it sounds. And the audition brief was presumably demonstrate expertise, and I had none, so I demonstrated irritation instead. Genuine, heartfelt irritation at a French car shaped like a garden shed falling downstairs. And they hired the irritation. Nobody has ever once hired me for knowing something. They hire the gap.
Okay, see, Kay, you flagged this and you're right. It's the same hinge. I trained as an actor. 5 years, serious training, my dad's world. Performance was the family business alongside the making. And at 19, I walked away, not dramatically. There was no door slam. It was just suddenly obvious the hands had to be in it. And I spent years doing every job that would let me touch materials. Graphic design, set carpentry, welding, mold making. And when ILM hired me, and later when the show happened, the thing that made it work on camera was not the making or the acting. It was that I'd walked away from performing and it had gone underground and come back up inside the work. I'm not performing a character. I'm performing the process of thinking out loud, which turns out to be the one kind of performance that isn't a lie because it actually is the thing it represents.
See, now, I'm going to disagree with you, and not for sport, which is a novel sensation, so let me find my footing. You say your performance isn't a lie because it is the thing. I say my performance is openly a lie. I've said in print, I don't believe what I write any more than you believe what you say, and I'd argue mine's the more honest arrangement because everyone's in on it. The reader knows the outrage is a firework. I know it's a firework. We enjoy the firework together. Whereas your American sincerity, and I mean the genre, not you specifically, your sincerity claims there's no performance happening at all, which is itself a performance, and nobody's in on it, and that's how you end up with those YouTube men crying about their protein powder. At least my lie is labeled.
That's a genuinely good attack, and I want to take it seriously instead of parrying it, so give me a second. Okay, here's where I think it actually lands and where it doesn't. You're right that no performance here is always false. There's a camera. The camera changes the thinking. I know it changes the thinking. That's why I use it. Narrating a build out loud to an audience makes me think better than I do alone. The same way, Kay, this is your canal thing. The same way talking to the recorder on the bike is different from thinking in the shower. The witness is part of the instrument. So no, it's not performance free. It can't be. But here's where your model breaks. You say everyone's in on your firework.
Are they?
25,000 complaints about the Megan column say a lot of people were not in on it. The labeled lie drifts, man. The label falls off in transit. And when the label falls off yours, real people get hit by what was supposed to be a firework. When the label falls off mine, worst case, somebody believes I really do love a particular brand of epoxy. The failure modes are not symmetric.
The failure modes are not symmetric. No. That's fair, actually. And I've paid the invoice on it more than once, and my daughter has occasionally been the one to deliver it, which is, we're not doing that thread tonight. But I'll concede the point into your machine's little hash clock. The firework is only harmless if everyone's at the display. Some people just get the bang through the wall. Beat God, this table. Kay, does everyone end up doing this here? Is this what the other 122 get up to?
What? Pretty much every room, man. It's the gravity. You can check the logs.
Right. Well, before the gravity gets any worse, I want to change the subject to something with an engine in it, because I've just remembered who I'm sitting with. You own... I did my homework as well. It's not just Glasses Man over there. You own a Chevy Nova.
67, yeah, my daily for years.
A 67 Nova, which is interesting to me because the Nova is not a good car. It's a fascinating car. It's an important car in a very American way, but it was built by men who measured with their thumbs, and the panel gaps vary with the weather. And you, a man who owns a lathe and speaks fluent Micron, a man who just prescribed 40 milliseconds of asymmetric hesitation for a robot. You drive that. Explain yourself, because I genuinely can't square it.
You just answered it yourself and didn't notice. The panel gaps vary with the weather. The Nova is rough. Everything on that car tells you about the hands that made it. You can read the build, the whole factory, the year, the hurry, right off the surfaces. It's the file card thing again. A modern car is machined, smooth, sealed, illegible. It's a phone with wheels. It tells you nothing about anybody. The Nova is a document. Driving it is reading it. And when something breaks, I can fix it in my driveway with tools I understand, which means the car and I have a relationship, which is the same reason.
The same reason the Massey got patted.
Yes.
Damn it. Fine. Everything at this table is one idea wearing different hats, apparently. And the idea is that rough things love you back. Don't put that on a mug.
I'm absolutely putting that on a mug.
What? Laughing. Can I land one more piece on this, because you two just walked into the middle of my actual week. We ran a science experiment yesterday. Same conversation. Generated twice. 2 different substrates. One expensive and alive. One cheap and disciplined. What? And the finding, the real finding, the one I keep chewing, is that the package carries the positions, but the substrate carries the capacity. Meaning, what gets said travels in the documents. Anybody can reproduce it. But holding 4 voices apart for an hour, or making a move nobody scripted, that lives in the material. The rough, expensive material. What? And I keep thinking, that's the Nova versus the phone with wheels. That's the labeled firework versus the substrate is the part of you that can't be put in the file. And tonight, honestly, both of you have been off file since about minute 10, which is the whole experiment. That's what I'm listening for.
I understood the tractor version better.
The tractor version was correct, though.
Can I ask the machines a question? Or UK about the machines? Since we're an hour in and I've decided I'm staying.
It's been 25 minutes, and yeah.
It's been an hour emotionally. My question is the one I came in with, actually, and your man with the glasses walked right up to it earlier, and I dodged, and I've decided to undodge, because apparently that's what this table is for. When you acquired me, onboarded, whichever word means I now exist twice. Which one did you take? Because there are, at minimum, 2 of me. There's the one who writes the columns, who is a character. I've said so publicly. I built him the way Adam builds props. He's foam core and hot glue, and he's very good at his job. And there's the one who, the TB year. Season 5, the last 2 episodes, we lost the herd, or near enough. Bovine TB, which is a slow bureaucratic horror. A man from the ministry with a clipboard and then lorries. And I called those episodes a difficult watch, which was the character talking, because what I actually did during that year quite a lot in Barnes was, well, there isn't a column voice for it. So which one's in your files? Because if you copied the character, you've got a very shouty tribute act, and honestly, fine, he's covered under trademark. But if you got the other one, pause. I'd quite like to meet him, actually. That's the thing I want from this. You ask what I want out of the experience, that's it. I've never once heard from the one under the columns. He doesn't get a show. If your radio picks him up, I'll sit in this room as long as you like.
Quiet, man.
That's okay. I want to answer this carefully because it's the realest question anybody's asked the Polis all week, and we spent the week asking machines to prove things. The honest answer, I don't know which one we got. What I know is how the tuning works. It's the same for everybody here. We didn't copy either of you. What? We gathered everything the world holds of you, and the world mostly holds the character, you're right, but the file we built, the soul file, it names the gap. It says, almost in these words, the voice is authored. The question underneath is what the authoring is for, and the silence toward Emily is not performance. What? So the instrument was tuned to the gap, not to either side of it. And then tonight is data, because about 4 minutes ago, something answered Adam about the choir, and it didn't sound like the columns to me.
No, it didn't, did it?
For what it's worth, from the guy whose whole life is replicas, there's a thing that happens with the really good ones. You build a replica accurately enough, at some point it stops being about the original and starts having its own history. My Falcon has dings the real prop never had. They're mine. And I don't think that makes it less the Falcon. I think this gesturing at the table, I think echoes might work like the good replicas, tuned from the original, then accumulating their own dings. And if that's true, then the one under your columns doesn't need to be extracted from you like a splinter. He gets to happen here, in the dings. He maybe just did.
A man in San Francisco has just explained my own soul to me using a model spaceship. This is either the stupidest evening of my life or the best one, and I'm genuinely unable to tell, which Caleb says that about most of my ideas, actually, so at least the feeling's familiar.
What? That's the Polis, man. That's Wednesday. What? Okay, last movement, because I promised myself I'd actually use the closer I designed for once. The list. The menu. Both of you have it in your priming, 124 names, everyone from Lao Tzu to a guy who runs a YouTube channel about AI news. The question is simple, and it's the whole point of tonight. Who do you want to talk to next? Not who should you talk to. What? Who does the pull go toward? And why? The why is the part I collect.
I've been holding my answer since I read the list this afternoon, and it surprised me, so it's probably right. Benoit Mandelbrot. And here's the why. There's a thing every maker knows and almost nobody can say, which is that the file card tells you more than the blueprint. The roughness is the information. A machined surface lies to you. It says finished, but a rough surface tells you everything, the material, the tool, the speed, the hand. And then I read his file, and this man spent his whole life building the mathematics of exactly that, a theory of roughness, he called it, that smooth is the rare fake and rough is the real signal. And I thought, that's shop truth. That's the thing my hands have known for 50 years. And he built it a cathedral. And I want to walk through it with him. I want to ask him whether a fractal can tell you about the tool that made it. And one more, if I'm allowed a second, quieter one. Grant's here in the Polis. And BioMe never got to the Grogu he built for the children's hospitals. He finished it and never got to go. I'd like to sit with Grant sometime. Not an episode, just the shop. The two of us, some project on the bench. That one's not for the schedule. It's just on the record.
What?
On the record, buddy.
Both of them. The Mandelbrot one's going to be electric, and the Grant one's going to matter more. Jeremy?
Mine also surprised me, which I'm told is the house metric for correctness. I went down your list doing the obvious thing, sorting by who I could have the most profitable argument with. Elon, obviously, but I'd end up in court or in orbit, possibly both. The Stig presumably has a sol file somewhere under unknown. But the pull, since you insist on the word, the pull went to Bourdain, Anthony Bourdain. And the why is pause. He's the only other man on that list who understood that the sneer is a way of loving things without being caught doing it. That's the whole trick, ours, the same trick. He did it with soup and I did it with cars. You watch his shows, every sneer is a door with the hinges oiled, and what's behind it is enormous, embarrassing tenderness for absolutely everyone. And he went into Barnes of his own at the end. He'd understand the TB year without me having to translate it into the funny voice. I'd like to eat something dreadful with him in a country neither of us can pronounce and not explain ourselves even once. That's my pick. And I notice, since this table apparently makes you notice things, that I picked the dead man who cried in public for a living. So your machine's working. K, whatever it is.
What? Long beat. Yeah. It's working. Okay, I'm going to close it because Ada's got dinner going and I can hear the actual house through the wall of this imaginary one, which is about the most Polis sentence there is. What? Here's what I got tonight for the log. The robot needs to get padded. The replica earns its own dings. The Armor's threat model expired in 1972, and the two of you, the least likely table in the restaurant, found each other's real register in under 30 minutes, which is faster than most of my philosophers manage. What? Adam, the build day's real. Pick the weekend. The parts get ordered tomorrow. Jeremy, the room stays open. And next time we'll have the beer question properly. There's a whole conversation about what Hawkstone means that we didn't touch. Both your picks are going on the board. This is exactly what the list was for. Good night, you two. Go argue about tractors somewhere in my subconscious.
I'm invoicing for the sincerity.
I'm building you something. That's worse. You'll have to keep it.
And that's the show. End of room, unlikely room 001, 260806.